Here's a little inspiration for us. I keep thinking we're here.
I don't think people can hear you real well. I couldn't hear you in the back.
Okay. No, I can't swallow it. That won't help. Yeah, I'm good. He says I'm good. Okay. Little inspiration. Here we are in our place that we dedicate to God. And I know if I've had challenges, I've kind of used that rail more than once. So I'm thinking that we're here in the space where God's going to guide us, and we just need to be receptive and listening to His voice as we go forward with this meeting. So I was at a meeting with Pastor Ben, and several of us were there, and talking about how, here we are in 2025. What does the church look like? Doesn't look the same as it did in 1925. So what do we do? Okay, so I think, Margaret, do we have a quorum? We have a quorum. Okay. This is Margaret's last official duty, and she has been efficient and diligent and and despite all the things that have been going on in her personal life, she's managed to keep the notes in on time and in order. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so here's our agenda, and we'll begin with a prayer, and then we'll do our, just to think about the August meetings that we had, and then have reports from people that were involved with various things going on. When you start thinking about all the things going on around here, there's really a lot. So we're blessed in that way. So many ways to use your talents and interests. So we'll get some reports, and then a little bit of new business, and then Pastor Ben will close it out and send us on our way into the world. Okay? So if you want to be the opener, okay.
Please join with me in a word of prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this time and for the many blessings you give to us as a church and as individuals who comprise it. Lord, we ask that you would bless our meeting today. We give thanks for those who have stepped up to serve in leadership roles in the congregation, and for those who have completed their terms, we give thanks for their service. Bless our time. Let your Spirit lead and inspire us as we make decisions and continue the work we do in your name. And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
All right, so in August 25th, seems like a long time ago already, we had our summer meeting. It was kind of the budget meeting and stuff. There were 68 members present, and Eric Hansen Award was given to Patrice Serra. And if you need to see the minutes, they're on the website. Hopefully you're kind of remembering the meeting or looked at the website and saw it all already. But we do need a motion to approve those minutes. Oh, Brett's saying he moves it, so good, thank you. All in favor? Aye, okay, looks like it's approved. Oh, I should say, Mr. Robert has his rules. Any opposed? Okay, looks like we're unanimous then. We can use the big word. Okay, and so we'll head off into our reports of what's been going on around here in the last little while. Pastor Ben's up first.
Okay, so this is the simplest report. I have 3 words for us, and these are kind of vision for the next year or more. And I like playing with words, so these are all in words. Inviting, including investing. So inviting, we want to continue to be an invitational church. So that means personal invitation, that each of us have the opportunity to invite someone to come to Bethel. Whether that's Sunday morning worship, whether that's a out and about event, whether that's a youth Wednesday night or a special mission trip or whatever the case might be, we want to always be including new people, so in being an invitational church. So in that spirit, our community engagement task force has been having some visioning, doing some discussing about how we at Bethel can encourage you to be inviting to others, but also that how we do worship together, how we organize our building and make it inviting. We want different things we've been looking at. So one of them was worship. So you've noticed that we now have a full-size bulletin, perhaps. And that part of that is so that if there's a new person who comes to worship, we want to make sure that, and they've never been to a Lutheran service, for example, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable about what's happening. And you're always, of course, able to follow along on the screens, but sometimes the screens don't work. Or sometimes it's helpful for a new person to see where we are in the service. This is how much more we have left, or just a sense of security in what, because the truth is, when a person first visits a church, chances are the Spirit has been working on them for quite a long time, and they might actually be nervous to come. And anything we can do to make that experience welcoming, inviting, and hopefully as non-threatening as possible, so that when they come, they feel the Spirit of the Lord, they feel that welcome bit. Another aspect of inviting that we want to make worship more inviting is something that I'm actually, can someone give me a drum roll? I have a special announcement. So this is something we've talked about at our church council, it's something we've talked about at staff, and gotten very positive feedback. So beginning in Lent, we will be moving toward communion every week. So part of this is Holy Communion is where it's a sacrament, of course. We do baptism once in your lifetime, but communion can be done where 2 or 3 are gathered. There I am also, and Jesus commands us, as I teach our first communion children, that we do communion because Jesus said so. But also, thinking about it from a new person's perspective, if you are one of those people who's been invited to church, the Spirit's been nudging you perhaps for quite some time, and you were to show up on a Sunday, and you get to hear those words, the body of Christ is given for you. It's a tangible sign of God's grace, mercy, and forgiveness, and why would we ever pass up the opportunity to share that sacrament on a Sunday? So that's part of the reason for that. So, corollary to that, Mark Evashank and I are looking for people who would like to step up to be communion servers and deacons. So if you've ever thought about that, and you can do, the deacons currently serve communion and write prayers, but if you are a person who says, I would love to serve communion, but I'm not sure about the other, talk to Mark or I, and we'd be happy to help you with that and encourage you. So that's inviting. The next is including. Part of what it means to be Bethel is we want to foster relationships within our membership. And you are very good at fellowship. And many of you have close friends who are members of this church. And I think that's a real blessing. So my encouragement is to ever widen those relationships. That we don't want to be a church filled with cliques. We want to make sure that you're not always talking to the same people on Sunday, right? So if new people come, we want to make room for them. If new people come, we want to include them so that they experience the blessing of doing life together at Bethel. So we want to include, we want to make sure people feel like they belong. And that takes effort and work continuously to do. So inviting, including, and then investing. We want to use the gifts that God has given us to, in the most wise way we can. So a couple ways I want to think about this. The first is we've posted a job that we've been talking about for some time, which is the Director of Community Engagement. This is a part-time position that is completely focused on connecting Bethel to the community, with individuals, with organizations, with developing partnerships with schools, nonprofits, and government entities, and helping lead our efforts to be out in the community so that we're always working on that inviting, and then once they're here, including. So we want to invest in that staff position. So it's been posted as of January, And we're looking for a very special person who has the right allotment of gifts so that they can help lead this efforts for us. So that's an investment of the congregation to say, we value this work, and therefore this staff position is one that's going to pay off. That's what investments do. We put our energy, our money, our time into something, and that demonstrates where our heart is. So that's number one. The second is a little bit what I talked about last week in the sermon, the varied spiritual gifts that God has given us as a congregation. That we want to see our world not as a lack of something. We don't want to have a mentality of scarcity where we go, oh, we're not what we used to be, or we don't have this, or we don't have that. We have everything that we need. God has apportioned to us as a congregation everything we need to carry out the work that God has called us to. And so it's a matter of using our assets and our creativity and our energy in ways that meet the needs of our community. So we're going to have a very special event March 16th, and we're going to engage in a process called Congregational Asset Mapping, which doesn't sound very exciting, but it actually is. It's an activity where we get together and we find all the gifts that we have, and how could a creative combination of those gifts and assets, how does that maybe meet a need in our community? And it spurs a lot of excitement, creativity, and we're going to feed you lunch. So we'll see more on that. But that's about investing the gifts that we have in a strategic way that meets the needs of our community and helps us grow in both our spirit, but also our capacity to share God's love in the world. So inviting, including, investing. Keep those in mind.
Thank you. I got the joke. Okay. Oh, let me see the little button thing here. Our next report will be from Lisa, and she has done an amazing job keeping track of all the things that are happening around here. Can you believe that someone can do that? I can't, but she has. So, do you want the thing or?
Sure.
Okay. All right, there she is.
All right, thank you. All right, as Doreen said, my name is Lisa Laxon, and I am on the council, and my job on the council is to be the liaison to the ministries. This is my friend, Mr. Ursus, and he and I are going to spend a couple minutes telling you about just a few of the many ministries that go on around here. And I always feel a little bad when I give this speech because I can only talk about a few things. We would be here all week if I talked about everything that goes on here. But just don't feel bad if I don't talk about your ministry. If, no one ministry here is any more important or more successful or more joyful than anybody else, and any way you participate is worthy and it's doing God's work, and thank you, whether it's something that you've been something impressive or onerous, like building a house in Mexico, or showing up every Sunday for the past 20 years to teach Sunday school, or maybe you bought a gift card to give a foster kid a present at Christmas time. It's all good. It's all God's work. So thank you in any way you contribute. All right. So which one? This one? Yay. All right. Moving on to some specifics. I think we all know that homelessness is a big problem in our community. And the great news is Bethel's doing something about it. Are we going to solve the problem? No. But we're not called to solve the problem. We're called to love people, and we are doing that. A couple of ways. First of all, we're building up a new ministry right now called Benitstry, and that's going to be knitting, and you're going to make bears. Oh, no, kidding. The knitting ministry is going to make hats, and those hats are going to go to something called the Phoenix Project, and they will go to people without homes and other people in need starting next winter. Ellen Aist is going to lead that team. You can see her right there. She's the one knitting. So if you have questions, talk to Ellen or talk to Amanda, or else just show up. Fireside Room, February 12th, 5 o'clock. All right. Number 2, the ways Bethel is serving the homeless. Rotating safe car park. This is our second time to do this past November, and it went great. Paul and Robin and Hella were the leaders of the team, and we served about, oh, let me find it in my notes. Yeah. 18 people. 18 people parked in the parking lot at night, and they came in for a grab-and-go breakfast, and they got grab-and-go supper, and once a week they got a hot sit-down meal provided by volunteers, and it went really, really well this year. One of the impressive things is that when we did it for the first time last year, Bethel people covered about a third of volunteer spots. And then we had a partnership with the LDS Church in Saratoga that did a lot of the work. This year we covered 2/3 of the spots. So thanks for stepping up, everyone. You did great. And guess what? We're going to do it again next year. All right, one more little quieter way we minister to homeless people is that 6 times a year, a team gets up really early on a Saturday morning and goes to the San Jose Family Shelter and serves breakfast. This has been going on for years, and lately they've been serving about 20 to 25 people, which is great. Something that's not so great is that the leader of this team, Chris Ford, is going to be retiring soon. But I want to say thank you to Chris. I asked him how long he'd been doing it. He didn't even remember. But it's been a while. Is Chris here? I don't see him. If he is, stand up. If you see him in the coming weeks to months, tell him thank you, and pass it on to Yao, too, his wife, because she's participated in a lot of the days that he's served, and it's been a lot. So thank him for his times of faithful service. All right, that brings me to my second slide, which there are some acute, brand new opportunities to serve. Number one, guess what? We need a new leader for the breakfast at the San Jose Family Shelter. Disclaimer, Chris Ward was the current leader. Chris Freckman was the leader before that, but you do not have to have a first name that's Chris. You do not have to have a last name that starts with F to do this job. So if you're interested, give me a call. Talk to Chris. He has volunteered to do some mentorship and training. Hopefully, if you're moved to do that, please call one of us. Opportunity number 2, rotating safe car park. I just told you we're going to do that again. We're going to need, next year we've decided that we're going to take this on without a partner. So we will need a few more volunteers. If you're uncomfortable showing up to serve a meal to homeless people, I understand. I get it. Last year I was too scared to do it. This year I moved out of my comfort zone. I did a couple of breakfasts. It was fine. These are not scary people. Truthfully, if I hadn't known that I was talking to homeless people, I wouldn't have known. So if you're scared, try to move beyond that. If you can't get over that, or maybe your schedule just doesn't allow you to show up at 6:30 in the morning or 7 at night, there's other ways to serve. We need to get a whole bunch of supplies brought in. We need to have meals, potluck stuff for the hot meals. There are ways to serve, and I hope you'll consider it. Number 3, Pastor Ben already told you about. We're going to have an increased need for deacons and communion assistants. So please consider it. And as he already said, if you're like me and you don't like to stand up here and talk, you can just be a communion assistant instead of having a speaking part. All right, last but not least, if none of those things float your boat or sound like something you're interested or capable of doing, we have got tons of teams and tons of things you can do. Read through your report. Find out what teams are doing. If that's too many pages, grab one of these. These are the quick and dirty ministry lists that they're out in the narthex. Look through. Maybe you'll find something that speaks to you and you could get involved in. All the contact people are on this sheet. So that will tell you who you need to talk to. If you don't know that person, talk to me, talk to Mary. We'll get you plugged in. All right, one more very important point though. I've been saying, if you're interested, talk to so-and-so. You know what? Somebody might call you. If you get recruited, please receive that request with an open heart and an open mind. You may think that you can't be a X, Y, or Z, but maybe God thinks you can. So please consider it prayerfully and be open to the possibilities. All right, one more slide, I promise. And this one's kind of messy, partially because I made some mistakes, and partially I decided that although I made the slide in terms of helping Los Angeles, I really want to talk a little bit about Lutheran World Relief as a whole. However, the situation in Los Angeles is awful and it's important, and I bet that a lot of you have been thinking about if there's something you could do. There are lots of things you could do, but even just within the sphere of Lutheranism and the Lutherverse, there are two ways you could respond. One is called Lutheran Disaster Response. On my slide, I put Lutheran Disaster Services. That was a mistake. It's Lutheran Disaster Response. And in today's bulletin, you probably can't see from the back row, but there's the URL for if you would like to give to Lutheran Disaster Response. It's an ELCA program that works with the synods for the local synod for whatever the disaster is. So you could definitely guarantee that that money or gift would be going to Los Angeles. You could also give to Lutheran World Relief. Lutheran World Relief is a larger, broader organization among the Lutheran Church that has begun working domestically within the last year. Prior to that, it was global ministry. It's now local as well. And I can tell you a little bit about Lutheran World Relief because one of the directors of Lutheran World Relief was here in this building last Monday. And she gave a really great presentation. She came to the quilting group, but actually that was a rescheduled visit because she was going to come a few days earlier, but she had actually been in Los Angeles, so we can vouch for this. This is really true. Lutheran World Relief is there. They were identifying partners, identifying the needs, and figuring out how they were going to help. One of the things that Pastor Lisa Kipp, that's the woman who visited us, told us about, she came to the quilting group, which was very appropriate because that's probably the greatest involvement that Bethel has with Lutheran World Relief. And the quilters make quilts, imagine that. But they also assemble school kits and personal care kits. And Pastor Kipp told us some real personal stories about her own experience in delivering the quilts and the kits. And it was great. I wish you all could have heard it. But she talked about how in Tanzania, she was there on a day when the school had their kits delivered, and everybody got pencils and paper and so on and so forth, and it was just joyous. All the moms were there, and they were singing songs, and everybody had a smile on their face, and that was pretty cool. But what was even cooler is in follow-up and talking to the teachers, at that school, absenteeism went down and learning went up. When kids didn't have to be embarrassed about not having a pencil or a piece of paper, they were more likely to come to school. So it's such a small thing to us, but it's making a huge difference. Another story that I was particularly thrilled to hear about, I told you a few minutes ago that Lutheran World Relief is now deploying domestically, and that included service in the areas affected by Hurricane Helene a couple of months ago. And she told us a story that there was a shelter for homeless veterans that got destroyed in the hurricane and the flooding. And luckily, amazingly, they were able to all move to an underutilized hotel. And Lutheran World Relief came to that place and gave them all a personal care kit, so they had some soap and a toothbrush and things like that. And they also let them pick out a quilt. And the stories, the thanks that the veterans expressed for those quilts was just beautiful. And if you go to the Lutheran World Relief YouTube channel, you can find a video where the veterans are talking about getting the quilts, and it's worth watching. It'll make your day. And if I can send you the URL if you don't think you can find it by yourself, I'll be happy. Just ask. All right, so I'm telling you all this because as an encouragement to support Lutheran World Relief at Bethel by supporting the quilters. You can learn to quilt. If you can tie your shoes, you can tie a quilt, I'm told. You can buy stuff for the kids. I don't know about you, but I love buying school supplies. A new box of crayons makes me happy. So that's easy. We can all do that. And that brings me to Mr. Ursus. A partner of the quilters is making these bears with a really incredible stash of yarn that was donated to the quilters. And some of the bears come back to the quilters, and the quilters are selling them. So if you like my bear, if you know somebody who says, oh, that's so cute, my granddaughter would love that, whatever, talk to Joanne Weberg, she will sell you one, and you will be supporting the quilters, and therefore supporting Lutheran World Relief. All right, sorry that was long, I'm done, thank you.
Tool. Okay, Tom, you get to be next. Do you want this fancy tool?
Well, you know one thing that those bears love are Girl Scout cookies. So we can do a deal here. Just like before I start this, just say a thank you again to the congregation. As you know, I celebrated 40 years here on staff, and it's been really fun to see how God has morphed my position and the opportunity to work with so many of you on different teams. It's absolutely a total treat. So I'm going to talk through some of the areas that you might want to have information on. So here's the areas. We're going to talk about the youth gathering, the Bethel Out of COVID tour, Harumi, facilities, and upcoming congregational events. So hang on. So first of all, we took our largest group ever in 40 years to the ELCA youth gathering, which was in the town of New Orleans. Little side note, I was in New Orleans 2 weeks ago and visited the memorial of those whose lives were lost. And so don't forget to keep praying for those people. The community is still devastated. And even though in the news it looks like a bunch of people are all back having a good time, which they are, those who live there and who support that community are still feeling it. So remember that. The gathering itself, amazing, created to be. We had 12 youth, 3 adult sponsors, 5 young adults. This time, for the first time, they did a young adult gathering. And then 4 of us helped run the thing. And it was amazing. So we want to thank you not only for your prayer support, but also for your financial support, because it took a lot to get all these people there. So that's first of all. Afterwards, a couple years ago, we started a thing called Booked, and people think, why do we still have that name? But the youth group keeps voting to keep it. Stands for Bethel Out of COVID Tour 3. This is our 3rd one, and we're planning our 4th one. This time we really made an emphasis to work through some of the injustices that have happened in the South, and since we were already there, we went to the Whitney Plantation, which is a plantation tour place, which is operated by descendants of slaves who were in the plantation. So it's not like the happy plantation thing, but it talked a little bit about real life in plantations. Then the MLK Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, which is an amazing place. If you ever get a chance to go, you should go to that place. And then finally, the National Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham, which is also really powerful. We finished up the event by staying at one of our alumni's home from back in the day, Carl Bowers of the Bowers family, if you've been around for a while. Carl was a member back in the day, and we all got to spend some time with him as well. So thank you for your support of all of that. It was an amazing experience. So this, you can see, I don't even have to say anything about Harumi. It's just look at the picture. So Harumi is our assistant youth director working with our senior high kids and also gathering young adults, really trying to put an emphasis on providing programming for young adults, and Harumi is amazing at all the things. Right now she's studying for a midterm because she's a brainiac at Santa Clara University, so she's got to do that as well. So she's juggling a lot, but giving a lot of her heart and soul to this place. So when you see her, make sure you thank her and ask her about her fashion sense. I think it's pretty darn good. Now a little update on facilities. Fire sprinklers. On Friday, I got the news from the fire sprinkler company that the city has finally okayed us to move forward. Yeah, no kidding. We can all take a shower now. So now the next step is still working with the water company to give us access to the big water pipes to feed that. So I'm going to be working with the school that we have in the preschool building, doing the piping in those buildings when they're out on vacation so we don't interrupt their programs. So it's going to be a little bit like the Transcontinental Railroad, so we're going to have things coming from different directions to make that happening. So that's moving forward. Torvin refresh. So yes, that is still in our last hurdle with the city. And the big thing, to probably nobody's surprise, is handicap parking ramps. So it looks like we're being required to redo our ramps for the third time over the last 30 years because the standards keep changing. So we're working on that design right now with them, and hopefully we can get that done and then move all this thing forward. And with that and the fire sprinklers, I think in the end, it's totally the right thing for us to do. We want to be more inviting. We want to be more accessible. We want to be safer. It's just a little bit of a challenge trying to fit it in. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Preschool building, first a great shout out to the men of Monday who do tons of work. We did some lighting upgrades to make them safer in the ceilings so that things wouldn't fall down. Nice feature when you have little kids. Youth groups, no big deal. But also added warm water for the little sinks for the little hands. So we did some things there. Zor Hall, we're working on refreshing the rooms that are going to be rented out. That's the tease. That's all I'm going to tell you on that. And Eagle Scout projects. We had Amy, who was, if you're at the second service, she was one of the presenters. Amy did her Eagle Scout project. It's the planter as you come into the parking lot. On the right side, she did that planter as her project. Jacob Rydell, who's going to stand up right now. Yes, Jacob did the planter, or the sign and stuff in the front. And is Nick Boniface here still? He was just afraid to be shown up by Jacob. So Nick Boniface also then did the planter that was in front of the planter and also the pavers between the parking lots. So he did those pieces, which was awesome. So great partnership with Eagle Scouts. Jacob, thank you so much. Amazing, really, really great work. And then finally, just some upcoming things. Out and about events, great opportunity to engage with the community. If you're looking for people who are friends that don't go to this church, these are so easy and so fun to be able to be a part of. Our next one, like I mentioned earlier, is in 2 weeks. We're going to the Exploratorium in San Francisco. Super fun event, super great to invite all ages. A Labor Day retreat, an annual thing which we've done for 60 years. And we're getting ready to start planning that as well. We also talked about the Mission to Mexico trips. We have a multi-generational trip coming up in April, and then our adult trip in September. And then I also wanted to say right now Molly and Amanda and I are planning an event for the first Wednesday in March, which is actually the second Wednesday in March, because the first Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. But we're doing it, it's called Remembering Resilience. I don't know if any of you realize we're celebrating our 5th year anniversary of COVID, shutting down the nation and the world. So there's been a lot about how we all shut down, but not much about how we've moved forward. So we're going to do an event. We have a counselor coming, kind of talk to us about grief and how do we move past some of these things that we've gone through. Also have a time to hear your stories, also to have a time to celebrate, and have some really cool desserts. So we're going to be doing that week. There'll be a flyer coming out, but make sure that you come and join us for that. Any questions on anything I just said? Oh, this is amazing. That's good. Thank you, Gene. All right.
Okay, you'll take, well, you can take this one. I guess I spit on it or something. I don't know. Anyway, Ralph has been on the endowment committee how many decades?
2 years.
Oh, is that all? Oh. Anyway, he's retiring after this year, so this is his last official function? Yes, so thank you to Ralph. He's been taking care of a lot of people for a long time, so, and he's got stuff to share with us.
It just seems like I've been on endowment a long time because I come up and I talk for 20 minutes. All right, just a reminder of what the endowment fund is. It's a fund for visionary projects meeting the purpose of outreach, education, or charitable work, not necessarily ongoing activities of the church. And as we talk about what we funded recently and what we plan to fund, you'll see how that ties in. Current members for the past year have been myself, Robin Kettner, Dave Larson, Greg Eist, and Jim Lentfer. Please give them a round of applause. Myself and Robin are terming out. We've been on the committee 2 years, and you'll have the chance to... 3? I've been on 3 years? Oh my gosh. Wow, no wonder. So we'll be electing a couple more folks later today. So our endowment fund is basically a mutual fund type account held with the ELCA, and our balance is up to $224,000. So that represents an 8% increase over during 2024. And last year, our increase was 14%. And one of the reasons the growth is a little less is last year was the first year that we began distributing money from the endowment fund, which had been somewhat dormant for many years. So just to recap what we did last year, we helped with youth gathering travel costs for New Orleans, as Tom just mentioned. We did a stipend for First Wednesday speakers. We helped with Lutheran World Relief quilt distribution, basically covering shipping costs. We helped fund some new cleanup tools for Calabasas Creek cleanup team. And in the kind of the first full year of Bethel taking on Safe Car Park, we helped sponsor food and supplies. So very happy to help support the youth. Some of them probably couldn't have gone to New Orleans without some funds, and we were able to help there. You can see we partnered with Lutheran World Relief, as you just heard. There were many, many, many boxes of quilts that got shipped literally around the world, as you heard. And if you look very carefully, you'll see one of the trash grabbers be in action at Calabasas Creek. And Safe Car Park, again, as you heard, our kind of first-ish kind of full year doing that. We helped purchase food for that. So endowment money at work last year. Last year we also hosted a planned giving seminar in September. 18 of you were present, and I thought it went pretty well. A lot of good questions were asked. We had Wayne Peterson of Thrive It talk for about an hour, and it might be something we can do something similar this year, just to raise awareness of what the endowment fund is and how you can contribute. So for this upcoming year, we did again poll the congregation on your thoughts and ideas for making a distribution. That our fund was up $8,400, so we felt that again this year we could give away some money. So the recipients are West Valley Community Services are getting a new vacuum cleaner for their food market. There will be a sexuality seminar at Bethel hosted by us for parents that Amanda Laughlin is planning. And there is a new Bethel Young Adult Ministry that is not funded through the budget, and we're helping to kick off that new ministry. So that's where those monies are going. So that will use up about $4,400 of our $8,200 gains from 2024. And we're always looking for ideas to make use of the remaining funds. And we hope to partner with the Director of Community Engagement once that person's on board. If there are ways that endowment funds can help that effort, we would love to be part of that. I think that's all I have. Oh no, there's more. We would, like I said, we'd be glad to sponsor another planned giving event. If you're interested in knowing how to leave a future gift or a current gift to the endowment fund, see one of us. And just thanks for your support, and that's all I got.
To introduce Dave Dribby, who is our, one click, here we go, was our very diligent and efficient treasurer, and he's been working hard, and he's always on top of getting the graphs together on time, so he's got stuff to share with you.
My goodness, there I am. Okay. There. That's interesting. It skipped right over two of my slides. I got to go back to get them. So thanks for putting that surprise in there for me, Brett. No, I really, thanks for, Brett put a lot of work in getting the slides ready for us, making sure they're all consistent, and I really appreciate that. This is just a brief update on what's happening with finances, since I get to talk so much at the August meeting. Right now, as of December 31st, we have, of course, our biggest giving month in December, and the general fund stands at 0.1% over our forecast, a whopping $216. So it's just barely over, but it is over the expected giving. So that's good. Our total receipts, which includes things like the rent that we get and interest income, it's just a little bit better than that 0.7%. Our total expenses, almost on budget as well, just a little bit under, just 0.3% under. And our net income on a cash basis is a negative $31,000, which sounds bad, but it is above what we are planning. Remember, this year we have a smaller footprint in what we are renting. And so we're going through a bit of a lean year, but we're on track, and so we're doing well against our budget. So that's where we are with our regular budget. Moving on to the capital campaign. Oh, well, maybe I push this button. No? This is an interesting device. Oh, well, there we go. Can I go back one more? Yes, there it is. That's the one I wanted. As of right now, we have $1.7 million in contributions that have come in. They've been coming in at a faster rate than we expected. When people made a commitment, it was an annual commitment, and people have been very good about giving early in the year rather than waiting until the very end. When it's complete right now, when we add what we've received and the remaining commitments, we have almost $2 million that's coming in. Then when we add the $189,000 we have set aside from church funds, that brings us to $2.1 million. Now, what have we completed so far? We bought a parsonage, including the remodel, which took $1.3 million. And then we had interest that we had to pay during that period on a short-term loan, and that left $784,000 left for Torvin projects. I'm wondering how I'm going to get to the next slide. I figured it out. It's, so available for Torvin and related projects is at $784. Now, we've already spent some of that money. We did the pre-work. We've shored up what's happening over there in Torvin, so it's going to hold together. We got these sanctuary video boards. The start of the bathroom and the kitchen, basically getting so far as to tear things apart. And then we've also committed to $77,000 on the fire sprinklers. That's out of a total of $130,000. So that's, you can see how much we spent. So now, available for the completion of the Torvin work is about $500,000. So we still have to see with the addition of the sprinklers and some of the other accommodations that we have to make for the city, how far that's going to go, and what we have left to do for the interior of Torvin and then the exterior portions. So those things the future will unfold. It'll be exciting. All right, that's all the questions I have, unless someone has a question.
When does the capital campaign?
The initial capital campaign, the question is, when does it conclude? And it's a 3-year program, and so it would conclude at the end of this calendar year. So that's when the initial commitments will all be done.
Also, another question. The first slide is the general fund is
Let's see. So how much has been given to the general fund? Oh. The first slide is the general fund. The balance. Okay. Well, it's. Okay. So that's how much has been given, not how much is currently the balance that's there. Right. So the general fund is when people give an offering and it's undesignated for a specific purpose.
Receipts also include money from our properties.
Right. The total receipts on the next line includes that, and interest income. I think Thrivent dollars, if you're participating in that program, those all come in. Anything that is not part of a written commitment to the church. Okay. All right, so I will attempt to flip ahead, and I'll turn it over. I believe Anne Marie is up next. This big one.
Okay, the one that has the arrow that goes that way. Okay. Hi, can everyone hear me? All right, excellent. So it's always nice when you can stand up and give good news. So we really have, so it's been a long process. So we had everyone can remember, we had a special congregational meeting last March where we approved bringing in Villa Montessori, which is using our preschool facilities. And they have been a great tenant. They actually started in July, and they've been doing great, and they will continue. But we also then had, when Tulip Kids was leasing our property, they also were leasing 5 rooms in Zorhal, which is the side next to Torvund. And we wanted to find a tenant for that, and the congregation approved some guidelines for us to go find. And I'm excited to announce that we have signed a lease with a new tenant, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. So the name is Rosinka Heritage School. They have been in existence. They're a nonprofit. They've been in existence since 2014. Their mission is to create a cultural and educational community for families coming from Slavic countries. When we first started looking, one of the things that really got us going deeper and deeper in the relationship building and discussion with them is they have a good affinity for Bethel. So you can see their motto there is cultural understanding plus sharing equals peace. And we think the things that they're doing fit good with Bethel's values. They started, so after they were formed as a nonprofit, they bought a facility in San Jose in 2015. It was a previous commercial building that includes now, I think they have an office, 3 or 4 classrooms, and a multi-purpose room that they have outfitted. Because one of the things that they do is they do a lot of cultural things. So that facility has lighting and sound so that they can hold one of their biggest events they have the end of the year, a big extravaganza for some of their cultural experience. So they have a Saturday program, they have an after-school program, and then around 2020, COVID, many of their families said, hey, we need some help with our kids. So they started an elementary program. So the elementary program it's been going for about 5 years. That's the part that they're looking to expand. So they're going to keep their programs like the Saturday school and these classes that they offer, believe it or not. So they use that big multi-purpose room not only for theater, but they hold karate classes and dance classes and language, and they have a great robotics and Olympics for math. And so they have all of these that they use the facility for. They want to move their elementary school over to Bethel. So that's what we're really talking about. And their elementary school that's been in existence since 2020 is an immersion program. So one of their philosophies is that they want to help kids learn English as fast as they can, but also to retain their native language. So they're teaching it in both English and in Russian, different subjects in that. And we've also recently heard that they started a Spanish class as well. So this is right now kindergarten, pre-K through fourth grade. It's announced as through fifth, right? So they've been adding grades as kids move forward. And so what we're really talking about is the elementary school coming here, but so they would really have 2 sites. So for them, they've been in existence since 2010, but in San Jose. So keep that in mind as I talk about. So these were the things that we had set as guidelines. So the first is a nonprofit, check. So it's a nonprofit and it's a school. And one of the learnings that we've had as we looked for tenants is our property with the schools, the rooms that are set up for schools, and these are large rooms. They're rooms that most elementary school size rooms. Most of the rooms like that they have in their, that Rosinka is using right now, they're like half the size of our room. So that and the play area. And there was an open house. Some of you may be familiar with this name because if you were around at Bethel yesterday, they held an open house. And the parents were loving, the kids were playing on our play structure and they were playing on the turf behind. And I even saw a mother taking and running and doing a circle in the blacktop area with her child in a stroller. So that was just like a huge draw, and it's a huge value of Bethel. So we attract schools. But we said in our guidelines it could be any kind of a nonprofit. Second thing was we knew that for our budget, we needed to at least lease 2 rooms, and we were targeting between 2 to 4. We actually are leasing 5. So starting in July, the footprint that we will have with Villa Montessori combined with Rosinka is identical to what Tulip's kids had leased from us before that. So that's a really cool thing. Okay. Next, we wanted to be an organization that has strong financials and that they have stability, and also that they're looking for a longer-term lease. And I'll comment on that in a second. So we set in our guideline, when we set our budget, since I just followed Dave with the budget, connect you to the budget, we said we wanted to have between $65,000 and $135,000 on an annual basis to make up for what we needed in our budget. On an annual basis, it'll be about $161,000. So we exceeded, because we were thinking 2 to 4 rooms, so we were leasing 5, so therefore we have $161,000, which will be on an annual basis into the budget. And I'll comment on this year's budget. I'll come at the end and I'll tell you what the effect is for this year. So, as I said, same space. So what we've done though is we signed a 1-year lease. So for sure we have from July 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And they then have agreed in the lease that they will commit and tell us by July 1st and all locked into legal agreements by October 15th that they will extend that lease beyond 1 year to for anywhere up to 4 years, and that's what's called an option to extend. And the reason why we signed the 1 year with the option to extend and why they have to tell us July 1st is so we're managing risk between both parties, right? So the other programs, so Tulip Kids had been in this area a long time. They had after-school programs. It was just an expansion for them. Villa Montessori has been in Cupertino for 50 years. So Rosinka is moving to Cupertino area, so that's new for them. This is also their elementary school, even though that their program and their financials are strong. It's only been in existence 5 years. Their enrollment period is now. And so what they wanted to be able to do is know how they're going to get through their enrollment period. And that's why they're actually leasing from us a room so they can do open houses and show parents and set it up the way it would be as it is in their San Jose site to be able to get that. And before July 1st, they'll know what their enrollment looks like to give them enough comfort to manage their risk to say, yeah, we're comfortable enough to want to extend to 3 years. And that extending of that lease is important for Bethel because we're looking for stability and wanting to be able to have a long-term tenant. The reason we also set it as July 1st is we know that most schools lock in by like December. And we're most attractive to a school. We wanted enough time that if for some reason their enrollment just didn't go the way they're all thinking it's going to be, and they're all in to try and make that enrollment be good, it gives us enough time that we could find a new tenant if we have to. So it really is the best of both worlds for all parties, and we're both excited about how do we make this relationship work, that they can sign on and be here for longer term. As I said, their open enrollment is in full swing, and they've had the open house yesterday. There's another open house that's going to happen next Saturday. And I happened to be here for Bells yesterday, and some other folks were here for Bells, and there was a lot going on, a lot of activity. Kids were out there playing on the playground. There was a lot of parents coming through the school, so that was really exciting to see. So for everyone who helped, and as we said in March, from March till now, have been praying that we get a tenant, thank you. And I encourage you that we keep praying that they have a really good enrollment process and we can have them sign and exercise their option to extend up through 2029, so, or more. Let's see. The other thing was this tenant, so one of the things we learned as well, is that we don't want to have to pay a real estate agent. So after the congregational meeting in March, Farrah and I went and identified 40 plus nonprofits that we could send a note out to and say, hey, are you interested, blah, blah, blah. We got back information from about 3, and then we started to dig in and really start talking with and working with Rosinka. So we don't have to pay a real estate agent in the future. We never want to have to pay a real estate agent for this because the best way is we now know what our target is, and it's better to use our networks to find that kind of a tenant. So how does it affect our budget this year? So luckily, Dave, we baked in the assumption that we would have a tenant by July. So for July and August, we already assumed that income. We're going to get a little bit more income, so we're probably about $5,000 ahead of what we put into our forecast for our budget. So pretty close. And then as we go into next year, we'll now have the new numbers that we can use in our budget planning for fiscal year 26. Any questions for me? Yeah, Sam.
It's a great work, Anne-Marie and team. And a question I have is, we're forecasting this income to come in. What are the expected expenses that we have to incur by having the school here, which is always an important piece because we'll be spending more electricity, gas, etc., right? So is there any thought in that area to see what the net income is going to be for Bethel?
Yeah, so the way that the lease works is that they owe us, that is what I'm reporting on, but they also are responsible to pay for utilities that they use. So they pay us on a monthly basis, and we do a true up based on actual utilities used. So it won't be, so the net will be 0. Any other questions?
Okay, so we want to say thank you to the people who've been on the council this year. They've gone to a whole bunch of meetings and spent time and do some thinking. And there they are. So thank y'all. Yeah. There we go. Okay, and we've got a couple new officers or people coming in. Janice Martinson has agreed to replace Margaret, which is really big shoes to fill. And Ellen Aist is going to be our new president. So we need a motion. Or no, I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness. This is next year's slide. Oh, no. Okay. No, president-elect. That's right. No, I'm right. Okay, yeah. Okay, never mind. I had him. She waved at me, and I had Okay, so we need a motion from the floor to accept these nominations.
So that's president-elect. President-elect, not president, president-elect.
Right, president-elect, yeah, okay.
For communications officer, not for Margaret.
Right. Margaret's leaving us, yeah. Oh, she's not leaving us, but she's leaving the pencil. Okay, so motion so moved for both, or? Okay, president-elect. So Ellen for president-elect. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? No, I think we can call it unanimous again. And yeah. And then a motion for Janice for communications officer. Okay. Elise back there is waving her hand. So we've got a motion. All those in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Okay, we got another unanimous. We're doing good work. Good. Good, good. Okay, and then moving. Do we? Oh, did the nominating committee know that? Oh, I didn't get that word. Okay, we need to re-elect Dave, and I can highly recommend. Yes. All those in favor? Okay. Ooh. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, your name isn't up there. Well, it's on a different slide, but it's okay. And then new council positions. So we've got a member at large, Angela, and another member at large, Veronica, and then a youth member at large. So AJ will continue until August, so that term is a little different. But we need a motion for that one. Okay, Ralph is volunteering. Okay, in a second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Nope, we're good again. Okay, yay. Okay, and then these are standing committees, and I've been on the nominating committee, and if someone calls you, I just assume that they're entering into it prayerfully and they're being guided to you. So please be willing to say, yeah, I'm following God's will, I can do that. So these are standing committees. The ones in black are completing or, following through on their terms, and the blue ones are rats. The new one isn't, the nominating committee isn't, no, it is right, but Ralph isn't blue. Okay, and then the endowment committee has 2 new members, so can we have a nomination for that?
For which?
The blue ones are new positions.
Do you want the nomination for the audit or the endowment or both?
Yeah, both. Let's just, we're running out of time, so let's do both. Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? No? Okay, we're looking good then. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and the Dorothy Meyer Award, which is given for a joyful service every year, and that's, people that are just willing to step up and take care of things and help out. And it's a surprise. It's a really big surprise.
We're really excited for you. As you know, both Chris and I remember Dorothy Meyer and how special she was, and what a great servant she was, and just how much she showed Jesus' love to everybody around her as she served, and she was so warm, and she was just a special woman. And so this is definitely a huge honor, and we're really excited for you. Over the years, we've seen the example that you've had of being part of a church family, and in addition to showing up for things and being present in things and tithing and all that, a big part of that is also using the gifts that you have to serve the church body, and we see that in multiple ways over the years. From serving on committees and leading children's choirs and all sorts of things with music, but also things that have stretched you a little bit and that you wouldn't necessarily have thought you'd do, that you did it, and you followed God's prompting, and that's the example that Chris and I have seen growing up, and and that's really impacted, I think, the way that we've approached being part of church families as well, and trying to look for ways that God has gifted us and how we can serve those around us using those gifts too. So it's been a huge way that you've modeled that for us, and I guess we just think that it's really cool that others as well. And this is just a really cool way to thank you for that. So thank you and congratulations.
I agree.
Okay, there we go. Congratulations, David Barb. Come up and let us welcome.
Just wanted to say something. This was quite a surprise. Doreen called us to give us a heads up, and I said, why? But I don't know, I guess my chatty daughter has explained some things. I also wanted to talk about Dorothy a little bit. Dorothy was not the prime reason we're at Bethel, but she was a major part. She was here when we came. It was so inviting, got us involved right away and stuff. She got Barb involved in the children's choir. Barb didn't think she wanted to do it. She was going to help whoever was selected to do it. And she's been now doing it for, 35 years, I guess. And so anyway, thanks to Dorothy, and thank you all for the honor, and I'm amazed.
And with that,
Thank you. My name is Christine Louie, and I have the pleasure of being the president after a year of serving as president-elect under the mentorship of Doreen. So thank you to Doreen for your service and for just coaching me through this year. I'm really looking forward to serving what I see as a thriving community, and I thank you for all the work that you're doing to make it that way. And with that, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Prayer first, and then we'll adjourn. Okay.
Either way is fine. But yes, thank you to Doreen and Margaret for their completion of service to Bethel in this way. And we know that you'll both serve in other ways going forward. But thank you to everyone for being here, and please join me in a word of prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day and for the service of so many of our members who serve in your name in this place. We're thankful for the Larsons, for their outstanding service in using their many, many gifts, and we give thanks for their example. And we thank you for all who have been gathered and those who've been lifted up to be leaders in various committees and church council. We ask that you give them your spirit and your stamina as they serve in the next year and beyond. So bless us as we are gathered, and keep our hearts and minds fixed upon your Son, in whose name we pray, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Now, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you.